All right, today we're diving into a chapter in the Bible that's super short but has a massive impact. Isaiah chapter 4. I mean, we're talking just 6 verses, but in that tiny space, it completely flips the script from total gut-wrenching devastation to incredible hope. So let's figure out how it pulls that off. And that really is the central question here, isn't it? How can a society that is literally on the verge of collapse, a people who've lost just about everything, suddenly become the seed for a brand new, glorious future? It seems impossible, but Isaiah 4 gives us a pretty stunning answer. You know, to really get Isaiah 4, you've got to see where it sits. The chapters right before it, 2 and 3, are just a relentless storm of bad news. We're talking anarchy, vanity, the horrors of war. But then, right after this little chapter, the whole tone shifts to promises of redemption and restoration. Isaiah 4 is that crucial bridge. It's the hinge that swings the door from darkness right into the light. Now, you might think we'd start with that hope, but nope. The chapter actually kicks off at rock bottom. It forces us to look at the brutal, messy consequences of judgment, and it paints this really shocking picture of a society that's been turned completely upside down. The very first verse throws this number at us, 7. 7 women, it says, will take hold of one man. Now, in the Bible, 7 often signals completeness or totality. So here, it's screaming that this is a complete and utter crisis. So many men have died in battle that the basic fabric of society, family, community, it's all been torn apart. And their plea is just staggering. They're basically saying, look, don't worry about us, we'll feed and clothe ourselves. This is a complete 180 from the proud, vain women we just read about in chapter 3. All they want now is a husband's name. Why? To take away their reproach, which was the deep cultural shame of being childless, of having no family line. It is just a raw, heartbreaking picture of total desperation. But then, right at this moment of absolute despair, the prophecy does a complete 180. Just when you think it can't get any darker, out of the ashes of all this social ruin, a new and entirely unexpected hope begins to bloom. So, after painting this bleak picture of profound loss and deep, deep shame, Isaiah introduces this glorious new sprout of life. He says that on that very same day of judgment, something beautiful and totally unexpected is going to spring forth. And the term he uses here is incredibly significant, the branch of the Lord. In Hebrew, that's Semok Yahweh. Now, this isn't just any old plant. This is a well-known title for the Messiah. It points to a divine royal descendant who will bring new life and kingship from what looks like the dead stump of a fallen nation. And get this branch is described as beautiful and glorious, which is a direct, powerful answer to all the shame and degradation we just saw. So who gets in on this new hope? Is it for everyone left standing? Well, not exactly. The promise is for a very specific group, the survivors who have gone through a profound, deep purification. This remnant, these survivors, will be called holy, and the wording there is so important. They are called holy. It's not a status they earn, it's a gift that's given to them. They're described as those recorded for life in Jerusalem, which gives us this powerful image that their survival isn't because they were better than anyone else. It was an act of pure grace. Okay, so how does this purification actually happen? Isaiah lays out this 2-part process, and it's driven by God's Spirit. First, there's a spirit of judgment, which acts kind of like a discerning wind sifting through the people. And then comes a spirit of burning, which is like a refining fire, purging all the deep moral filth and the bloodstains of injustice from the heart of the city. This isn't a light dusting. This is a deep, divine cleanse. So what's the end result of all this intense purification? What's the payoff? Well, the chapter ends with one of the most beautiful and comforting images in all of prophecy. A vision of God's own protective presence right there with his people. And to describe this, Isaiah does something brilliant. He reaches back into Israel's most powerful memories. He brings up the pillar of cloud and fire that led them through the desert in the Exodus. He reminds them of the smoke of God's glory on Mount Sinai. But then he says, in the future, this won't be a temporary thing. God will literally create a permanent canopy of cloud and fire right over his people in Zion. The Hebrew word that's used for canopy here is Huppa. In this word choice is just perfect. A Huppa isn't just any old roof, it's a bridal canopy. It's a symbol of intimacy, of celebration, of absolute security. So God's presence isn't just going to be a shelter. It's a promise of a deep, personal, and protective relationship. It's beautiful. And this divine shelter he's talking about, it's intensely practical. It's shade from the scorching heat of trials. It's a refuge from the violent storms of chaos. It's a shelter from the constant downpours of affliction. It's this all-encompassing promise of complete safety and security, found only in the presence of God himself. So, okay, that's a powerful vision from, over 2,700 years ago. But what does it have to do with us? Why does this ancient text still matter so much today? Well, if you boil it down, Isaiah 4 gives us these 4 truths that are totally connected. First, that judgment can actually clear the ground for new hope. Second, it points to a Messiah, the branch, as the ultimate source of that hope. Third, it insists that real holiness only comes through a divine purification. And finally, it promises that the end goal of all of this is God's intimate, constant presence with his people. And you can draw a straight line from their world to ours, their ancient problem of moral filth and pride. We see that echoed today in feelings of cultural reproach and shame. Isaiah's answer is to pursue real holiness. The social anarchy of his day? It looks a lot like the existential storms we all face. The answer? Gather under God's protective canopy. And that deep, painful shame of barrenness, it finds its echo in our own feelings of worthlessness. Isaiah tells us to cling to the fruitful, life-giving branch. So that leaves us with one last thought. Isaiah's vision moves from complete devastation to perfect security. And it really challenges us to think about where we're finding our own shelter. In a world that feels so chaotic and exposed so much of the time, where are you seeking your canopy?